Back to the show, and our guest co-host today is a leading fitness entrepreneur and the founder of Autonomy. He offers a bespoke support empowering clients to take control of their body, their health and their mindset as well. Please welcome Nathan Johnson. Nathan, great to have you on the board. Thanks so much indeed for being on the show.
Thank you.
Should we do a bit of interpretations first and or definitions? Not the real body definition, you are winning that one, but in terms of mindful nutrition. Everyone's got an idea of what nutrition is. How do you describe or define mindful nutrition?
Yeah. It's about looking at separating how you're feeling and what you need, and then not kind of getting overrun with your emotions. Obviously, you mentioned before about kind of boredom eating or variations like that. It's like there where we get swept away with our decision making, and that's when the packs of biscuits and the ice cream, come in. So it's about taking control and understanding what your body feels like, what you need, and taking that moment to really understand it.
Okay.
Did you see the point then to me when he mentioned ice cream? Did you see that? Yeah. Nathan, I'm not sure how I feel about this. No, that's why I was saying earlier, I'm really excited to have you on the show, because we have to understand that difference, right? And I know we spoke earlier about overeating and knowing when to stop, and I think that is actually a problem that I have. Sometimes I'm full, but I'm like, there's always room for something sweet, isn't there? There's always room. So how do we stop that?
Yeah.
Is it easy?
No, otherwise we'd all be doing it.
But
I think the biggest thing around stopping overeating is understanding what fullness really means.
Okay.
So lots of cultures have fullness as being stuffed. So when their belly is really full, that's an end of a meal. Whereas maybe the Japanese, they have it differently, where they're 80% full, and they get practice to get this. So I would say that being the right amount of food is not being hungry, but also not being really stuffed. It's in that middle ground, and it's actually practicing just being there. Yeah.
I've been practicing that since I entered my 30s. You just have to, because your metabolism absolutely hates you.
Yeah.
Now, Nathan, I read this online, and I was 38 years young when I found out that sometimes you're not hungry, you're just thirsty. So it turns out hunger and dehydration send very similar signals, and your brain doesn't always get the memo. Is there any truth to this?
No, 100%, and it's how we associate. So if we have different associations for hunger. Some people might say low energy is their hunger signal. Some people might say their stomach rumbling will be their hunger signal. But also some people distinguish dehydration or needing water as a hunger signal within itself. So it's your associations. So most people just think they're always hungry, or actually they haven't really looked at thirst first. So covering your bases with thirst first, 2 to 3 litres of water, for example, then going into eating is going to be your best bet to kind of cover all your bases so you're not eating unnecessarily.
Can I ask you about the whole 2 to 3 litres of water a day thing?
Because, me too, I'm like.
Yeah, because I mean, they say that to everyone, but I'm sure that I probably don't need as much water in my body as probably someone like Tom, who's much taller than me, requires. So is there any truth to that?
If you want the cheat code to you, everyone being personal, is if you go to the toilet and you wee and it's any kind of straw colour or yellow, you need more water. Oh. So I don't do any litres by myself. I just go to the toilet and it gives me feedback. So
that's your litmus test.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to eat some more water. Eat more water.
The other one that you hear all the time is all portion control as well. It used to be whatever you can get into the palm of your hand, or small bowls, big bowls, small plates, etc. What's your go-to with portion control?
So we work with a lot of the South Asian community who have lots of curries and different things on in the house. So we actually divide the plate up. So we just do what we call the 1 plate rule. So the 1 plate rule is not having seconds. That's the first thing, is don't avoid seconds. Now with the 1 plate is that you just want to separate it in half and have your veggies, your salads on one side, cover that with low calorie stuff, and then 1/4 plate of protein and 1/4 plate of carb. And you can fit it with what you want, and you're not going to go that much wrong. Some plates might be 600 calories, some might be 1,000, but it's not 2,000 or 3,000, which is the most important.
Cool, just talk to me about the size of the plate.
Yes.
I'm okay. But that's also another thing, isn't it? They say smaller plates to make it. Is that right? Because visually your eyes are bigger than your belly, so put more food on a smaller plate?
Yeah, it just tricks your mind to think that you've had more food than you're normally used to having a massive plate and then seeing it filled up by either you or your parents, and then you see slowly it goes away and then the plate becomes clean. So you get used to having that association. So if you do that, and even with smaller knives and forks as well, it's an old bodybuilding trick where they'd use baby spoons to have their yogurt, so they'd have more spoonfuls. So the more spoonfuls that you have, the more chewing that you do, the more longer you spend on a meal. the more then you actually then consume. But it's the same amount of calories.
That's amazing.
You know, another trick that I have, well, it's not much of a trick, but again, going back to discipline, much like what Katie said, after a meal, I like to have a treat of some kind. So what I do is I won't eat an entire bar of chocolate. I'll just break a cube of my Cadbury, or if I feel like eating something savory, I love chips. I'll take 5 pieces of chips out of the bag and just eat that very slowly. I will sit and devour them because that way then you don't end up eating too much, because even when you want a snack, you need to find a way to sort of work around it. Can you tell us these things that you brought along for us? I'm guessing it's not for us snack.
No, unfortunately not. Well, you can have a tomato if you want to. But they're all about looking at filling your stomach. So your stomach is the biggest thing that dictates whether you're hungry or not. Obviously, we've got eyes bigger than belly. We've got like how we emotionally want to eat. But the vases represent your stomach. And each one of these, they're all the same amount of calories. Now, the thing that signals your hunger is when the food goes in, or reduces your appetite, is when the food goes in and it pushes against the outside of the vase. And that's what triggers and says, oh, hey, we're kind of full now, we're kind of good. So the vase represents that if you were to have the Skittles at 150 calories, well, there's lots of empty space there. And then you have the same amount of calories in tomatoes, which is 800 grams, or 5 large ones that I got this morning. That is, you're rather packed on that side, and that's actually not all of it. The rest of it couldn't fit in the vase. And then 2 small pieces of Arabic bread, 150 calories. There's space around it, but it's a little bit more full. So it's looking at how you can stay full, even with the same amount of calories. It's just how you choose. Now, sometimes, some days, the Skittles might be the best thing, but you might be hungry because of it. So having some variation and understanding how to play this most of the time is going to just significantly help your decision making, not to have loads of extra stuff.
The visual thing is really interesting. I'm fascinated, Nathan, like, why are you so passionate about this? How did you get into this and then want to start the autonomy?
I was a fat kid. So you know, I used to eat a pack of biscuits every day when I came from school, and I got really fat really quickly. And then when I changed myself, I wanted to help other people. So I became a personal trainer in central London, and then I fell in love with that process of helping other people change. Mostly the body is cool, but actually changing up here is the most important part.
So part of the mindfulness is what you put into your body, but I suppose, especially in a city like this, and we were talking about how easy it is to eat. Yep. We've got the brunch culture here, we've got the buffet culture here, we've got this festival culture here. You can get anything delivered to the door in 15 minutes as well. What's the mindfulness approach to eating in, eating out? I remember a piece of advice saying, cook your own food, etc. But then that sort of negates a little bit of a social life.
Yeah, it's not realistic long term. Sometimes it's cheaper to eat out than it is to go to get all the food and get it all cooked. So we just have to recognize how we're playing the game. So you can choose the under 500s, these other companies that will do specifically calorie controlled stuff, or you can order from the likes of Gazebo or like various other places where they're a meal or a curry, there are variations like that. And then when they get home, your decision is how much you take from the takeaway onto your plate.
Right.
So you can still have control. It's just it's a different form of control.
Yeah.
So you know, an average meal especially in the US, the research we've done in the US, 1,250 calories is an average main meal in the US from any place like that. That's why in the UK, when they put the calories on the menu, everyone kicked off a massive fuss because they saw what they were eating, and most people didn't believe it. But you know, that's the reality, and that's just on average.
Yeah.
Funny story about that is that the lower calorie ones are actually the more fast food ones because they come more processed, more aligned, whereas the other places are more elaborate and they give you amazing dishes, but normally with ingredients, then it becomes taste that's the most important. So with that taste becomes flavor, becomes calories.
Absolutely. Nathan, we need to go to break, but please stick around with us. There's so much more we want to learn from you, and keep the snacks, yeah?
Yeah.
Next up, we'll be talking to one of the Power Top 10 chefs in the Middle East who is revolutionizing nutrition. But before that, let's meet tonight's performer.
Hello everybody, my name is Aston and I'm going to be performing my song Jungle.